If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, and do more, then you are leading. The leader relies on people to trust them to know where they're going. So again, when I have one of these bright ideas, I need my staff to trust that I'm coming up with the right thing, that I'm doing the right thing. Do I always get it 100% right? No, I don't. But at least they trust me enough to know I've got their best interest in mind. I'm looking ahead to the future. I'm seeing the bigger picture. That's my role. The manager doesn't necessarily inspire trust. Managers typically haven't done that. Managers tend to rely more on control. And we're going to talk more about that in a little bit. But it's important for them to have the control because they are working on the structure and the system. So again, that long range view. My staff would be very upset with me if I'm only looking to the end of the week. You know, I'm not sitting here and saying, wow, everybody got paid last Friday, so are we going to get paid next Friday? I don't look at that. I am looking at how are we going to be looking in 6 months? How are we going to be looking in 8 months? You know, what is my budget? I recently worked with, you know, on my cash flow and my budgeting, and I was looking at where are we at for the first quarter of the year, and now what does that do for the budget for the year? Where are we at on track? I'm looking for the end of the year. My regular managers are here and they're looking at here's what's happening this week. Here's what's happening in this building today. So they're definitely looking and focused more on a short range view. Sometimes I think they'd be surprised to know that I have looked into next year and the next year and the next year. You know, we have a 3-year plan on some stuff. So I don't just get to live in today, and they don't want me to live in today. If I'm only living in today as a leader, then we're going to be in real big trouble. But organizations are never limited by opportunity. They're limited by their leader. And then organizations are never limited by their team. They're limited by their leader. As a leader, if you take hold and understand this may change some of how you do some things. First of all, you can't blame your team when something isn't going right if you haven't set the team up properly or you haven't given them the clear path in order to take care of the things they need to take care of. And so I think sometimes as leaders, it's very easy to say, well, so-and-so team isn't doing their job. Well, so-and-so team isn't taking care of this. Not that. You've got to start with you and figure out, is the team the right team? Do you have the right people on the bus? You're going to hear or read some of that. I'm a big proponent of Good to Great. It talks a lot about getting the right people in the right seats on the bus, things like that. That team and that structure is your fault. And so you need to realize that maybe you need to make some changes there. Opportunity. Well, we don't want to grow today. We don't want to make that change. You know, things are going really, really well. So we're going to pass on this. We're going to pass on that. You can't pass up an opportunity because you're not willing to take that risk. And we kind of talked about that a little bit a minute ago as a character, is that you have to be willing to take that risk. Because if you're not willing to take that risk, then you're going to be, you know, setting with, you know, a problem or setting with, I don't know, I guess I have an example of a software. Imagine a software that only one person knows or 2 people, and that company is all about that software. They're going to come in and get eaten alive because they're going to be limited by only one person's vision. And so you need to find a way to see opportunity and be courageous. Be courageous to take that. The other thing I want to kind of talk about here is that 90% of all the knowledge exists outside your company, and that's a quote from Peter Drucker. And you've probably, if you've been around David, I know you guys, some of you guys were on David's session last month, but David says that all the time. So if 90% of all knowledge exists outside of your company, then that means there's only 10% of that knowledge that's in there. So you need to go outside of your company and grab hold of that 90%. Go find it. And so if you limit yourself and not allow yourself to go make those connections, find that stuff, then that's also going to stifle some of what you're going to be able to do. And I think it's really important that you have to kind of understand that. A leader is built. This was something that I heard when I was also down in Tennessee. I never really thought about this myself because from time to time you hear terms like, oh, that person's a natural born leader. That person, oh, they were born to lead. I don't know that I necessarily believe that anymore, because I think that as leaders, we have a responsibility to continue to learn and grow as leaders. I don't think in my lifetime that I'm ever going to be at a point where I'm going to tell you, wow, I've spent the last 10 years being a perfect leader. I just don't think that's going to happen. Times are going to change. Technology are going to change. People are going to change. Things are constantly going to be changing. And so as leaders, we are responsible to continue to build ourselves. Make sure your audio matches your video. I made this kind of big on this slide because I think it's really, this is what your staff is seeing every single day. And again, I told you when I put this together, I have to keep my own self in check. Again, big place I have to check myself. So what are you saying versus what are they seeing? So are your words matching what they're seeing? And we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about that again in another segment. True power is the person who know they have it and they seldom use it. That's what having power is all about. Do I have the authority to make all the decisions in this place without asking anyone? I absolutely do. I don't want my staff to be in a dictatorship. I try so hard to live in a democracy as often as I possibly can. I think it provides buy-in. I think it provides folks that want to come and know that their opinions and their thoughts matter. And I think it's really important that if we're going to use that power, that we use it as seldom as we possibly can, unless there's a reason, why we absolutely have to. David's going to be doing the next webinar on May 13th on budgeting and tracking financials. And then on June 17th, we're going to come back with another leadership webinar on the 4 major management functions and how they relate to being a leader. So that'll be our next one that we're going to do on the leadership series. So if you haven't registered, or if you have, then we're hoping that you're looking forward to the next one.